CPAP therapy, fact versus fiction, myth versus reality. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Real quick, check out the sponsor of this video, CPAPsupplies.com, where they have their new Mask Fit R. It's like a pirate, Mask Fit R. You can see if a mask will fit based on your face shape. Check it out at CPAPsupplies.com. So first up, CPAP therapy has a high fail rate. Yes, but also kind of no. You're going to see a lot of these that I mentioned next are going to tie into this. The fail rate for CPAP or bilevel or ASV to me is artificially high. You'll hear a lot of doctors or whoever say, yeah, but 50% of people, even more than that, fail CPAP. And they do, it is true. But that's because the care and some of these myths feed into that. People fail CPAP because they're actually not addressing the issues to make CPAP better or to make CPAP work. The education of it is fucked. And I apologize for using that word, as this is in fact a Christian cat channel. I actually promised myself I wouldn't joke around because I'm just not in the mood. Truth is, my son took off for college like 3 weeks ago. And to be quite honest with you, I'm just sad. Like I'm just actually depressed a little bit, I think. Do get to spend more time with my younger son, who's always been kind of in the shadow, and that's very nice. I like that. My wife and I can spend more time together. I actually still love my wife, so that's really nice. But I'm sad, my dude's gone. And in one of those things that's also making me sad is people are like, hey, what does your dad do for a living? And other kids are like, oh, he's like all this like what you'd consider socially high level stuff. And they're like, what does your dad do? He's a YouTuber. And at first that's really cool until they're like,
oh, that's how many subs he has? That's embarrassing.
Oh, I'm good. So if you would do me a favor, if you like this kind of content, if you have in the past or you like this video, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and like the video if in fact you do like it. And first, why should you listen to me? One, I use PAP therapy myself, but two, I'm a registered polysomnographic technologist. If you want to have a PAP therapy analysis with me, check out my website, AXG Sleep Diagnostics. If you're having problems with any of this stuff or need like a deeper dive into your own situation. Myth. Well, we already said one myth. Myth number two, your doctor is totally on top of stuff. False. Your doctor basically has no fucking clue what's going on in your sleep. They're looking at your machine-reported apnea-hypopnea index. Let's just pretend that it's 100% right. Your apnea-hypopnea index is spot on. It's 0. That's still really misleading because what if you're having respiratory effort-related arousals? What are those, Jason? Well, I'm glad you asked. Those are actually, they're very similar to obstructive hypopneas. It's a decrease in breathing that causes you to wake up. So you can still have an AHI of 0 and still feel like absolute horse crap. That is in fact not only possible, that is the norm. So how do you figure out if you're having that? Well, one, you can use my services AXG, but two, you can use a free program. It is called Oscar. sleepfiles.com/OSCAR. You're gonna be like, I don't know how to read this. No problem. I'm kind of gonna get into that in a bit, but first step is actually downloading it. There are things you can use that they show you how to read it. You can make use of those, but that's not what this video is about. So going back to it, your doctor is going to just simply go off the AHI. You're gonna say, doctor, I feel kind of like crap. And they're gonna say, yeah, but your AHI is really, really good. And you're gonna be like, yeah, but I feel like crap. And it's gonna be, they keep kicking the can down the road. Now, if you hit them up front with it, they're gonna be like, well, I can prescribe you some medication, give you some uppers, some legalized crack, and that'll make everything okay. You want some crack? And some people are like, yeah, sure. Or some are like, yeah, crack doesn't really seem like a viable option to me, like long term. So really, you unfortunately do have to get into the weeds of your data. And if you're not comfortable doing it yourself, hey, I'm for hire, AXGSleepDiagnostics.com. I actually wasn't planning on pimping my services. It just felt right at the time. All right, number three, this actually these all tie in. All right, myth number three, APAP will adjust, fix you up right, and your machine AHI is accurate. We already kind of mentioned that, but that the APAP, an automatically titrating PAP device, is gonna fix you. Doctors will say that, hey, I'm just gonna put you on a range, 4 to 20, 5 to 20, it'll up and down, get you right, you're perfect. That is so false, I cannot even begin to express it. People on forums all day are gonna say, no, APAP works great, APAP's phenomenal, it works great. That's not, it is so untrue. for the vast majority of people. There may be some that it works okay for, but I'm telling you, it's not gonna get you perfect. All right, so doctors really push this. And the reason doctors push it is because people like ResMed, Respironics, people who have automatically adjusting PAP devices, they tell them it does. Hey, this algorithm works great. But you know what the algorithm has to do? It has to sense that you're having a breathing related problem before it increases the pressure. So you've already had an obstructive apnea, an obstructive hypopnea, or a respiratory effort related arousal that causes you to wake up. It just has to, I mean, that's the way they work. They're looking for flow limitations, flattening on the tops of your breathing to detect it. And guess what? They suck at that too.
Let's see here. Yeah, that looks terrible.
So when I'm doing my PAP analysis with people, they're like, I want to leave it on the auto mode because then I can see the flow limitation graph. And I'm like, why? On everyone's data, I can pick out just a mess of points where there's clearly flat waves and there's no flow limitation being picked up by, it's like by the machine, or it's all just machine reported data. So no matter how you want to twist it, oh, well, I just use a really small range. Well, unless you're really small range, the lowest pressure you're using is the appropriate pressure and you happen to be much, much worse in REM, no range is going to work for you because by definition, you'd be on a pressure that's too low. Huge myth. I personally recommend, God, I think I've recommended APAP for like one person in like the 4 years I've been doing this by myself. I think I've said do that for like one person, APAP. That's such an anomaly. Straight CPAP is definitely the way to go. All right, myth number 4, your pressure is correct. If you're on APAP, your pressure is just not correct. We just talked about that. But if you went in for an in-lab study and you're on CPAP and they said, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Johnson, you need to be on 10. 10 is a magic number. I can almost guarantee you that 10 is not the magic number. The reason for this is that people working at night kind of don't give a shit. I'll just be straight with you. They're usually kind of busy. Even if they are really good, usually they're kind of new and they don't look at things zoomed out and see the big picture. So they miss the subtle awakenings like respiratory effort related arousals. In fact, many labs or protocol is to not look for respiratory effort related arousals, but just look for obstructive apneas, hypopneas, central apneas, central hypopneas. They don't look for the subtle things. And so because they don't look for the subtle things, you're still going to continue to have those subtle sleep disorder breathing events when you go home and feel like shit and say, doctor, I feel like shit. And this all feeds into each other. Oh, your AHI looks great. Yeah, so your pressure is probably not right. So how do you go about resolving this? Look for nice rounded tops in your flow rate data when looking at your data through Oscar. It's as simple as that. If you have a high density of flattened waves, it's not good. If you have a high density of nice rounded tops, it is good. All right, number 5 myth. Having a leak below 24 liters per minute is good. That's false. That's also false. These are all false, by the way, in case you're not picking up on that. So a lot of people in Oscar, they notice that it doesn't go, there's a line, 24 liters per minute. Sometimes your tech will say your leak was fine. It didn't go above 24 liters per minute. That is the fictitious number that some fuck at some point, God, I did it again. I apologize. Christian Cat Channel, we don't cuss here. Some person said like, oh, if it goes above that, your machine can no longer compensate for that. That is false. You can look at any data where you see the leak trends upward. You will notice that your breathing, your flow rate data diminishes. It attenuates. That means diminish, by the way. No need to pull out the thesaurus. It's going to attenuate when the leak is up. That means that your mass pressure is decreasing, which means your airway pressure is decreasing, which means you're starting to have obstructive events again on some level. Whether that causes your airway to collapse to where you're having obstructive hypopneas, great, or respiratory effort related arousals, great. They're all causing you to wake up, so it really doesn't matter. Mask leaks and mouth leaks are the devil. So it doesn't matter if it's 1 liter per minute, 2 liter per minute, it's the size and the shape of the leak that matters. Does it look like a slow rolling mountain range? That's not good. Oh, but it stays under 24 liters per minute. Doesn't matter. If you're having that slow rolling leak pattern, it is all bad. You know what? I thought I had it bad and I see my cat here in a diaper. You know what? We all got it bad, don't we? Okay, so with a nasal mask, leaking obviously is a problem, and that leak typically comes out of your mouth. Now I can go two ways with this, and I'm trying to, on the fly, since I don't use a frickin' script other than a few scribbled notes, I'm trying to figure out how to do this in the most appropriate way possible. So one myth here, this is gonna have a couple sub-myths. If you have a mouth leak or you're a mouth breather, which by the way, most people are not, they're gonna put you on a full face mask, and they're gonna say, and I say they, the respiratory therapist or the sleep tech, oh, just use a full face mask because that fixes all leaks. That's another myth. What happens is you have this full face mask on and now your jaw just relaxes during sleep and falls back, and look at this gap. Air's purging out there, looks just like a mouth leak. Okay, so how do you resolve those? That brings us to another myth. Taping is dumb and dangerous, so this is only going to apply to a nasal mask. If you have mouth leaking, actually we have to go back, I'm so sorry. The leaking is from your mask. Leaking is not from your mask. Leakings tend to be from your mouth or from jaw drop. So here's another myth. The myth that changing masks is going to fix it is false. And guess what? The only time to change your mask is if it's uncomfortable or you just don't like the style or you're getting pressure points. And if you are changing the mask, please do so at cpapsupplies.com. That's the sponsor of this video. Is it a myth that you have to pay high prices? It is. You don't have to. You can use discount code LeftySummer. You can save 25% off your order. cpapsupplies.com has been doing it right since they've been doing it right. I've been with them for a long time. Nothing but satisfied customers. If you want to complain about them, you can say they have kind of slow shipping sometimes and they don't ship internationally. That's about it, but I hear that about literally every company. The one thing I don't hear about is they have a discount code available. cpapsupplies.com does, so use discount code LeftySummer, save 25% off. And if you're looking for mask suggestions from there, I'm loving the Micronova. It's a nasal pillow mask. If you're using a full face mask, I actually really like the X30i, even though I hate the frame. The Vitera is good too, but that's more of a natural traditional style mask. All right, back to this. So how do you resolve leaking? Well, you tape. And a lot of doctors are gonna say taping is dangerous because if you tape, what happens if you throw up in your mouth? How many of you have thrown up in the middle of the night? Like, no one, maybe? Probably no one. No one really throws up, but guess what happens is your PAP therapy is severely diminished if you have this rampant mouth leaking. And so you're putting way more strain on your heart. The risk, everyone's heard the risks: stroke, heart attack, diabetes control, hypertension control. All that stuff is far worsened because of the fear of throwing up in your mouth, which just doesn't happen. But the other is a guarantee. All those other problems, pretty much a guarantee versus the possibility of throwing up. Okay, so the other myth being the full face mask, you still get jaw drop. How do you resolve that? Soft cervical collar is really the best way to go for that. Don't believe me? If you've done it before, comment in the comment section below and let people know, yeah, actually cervical collar, really good. Great recommendation, Jason. Appreciate it. And I would say you're welcome. All right, the next myth is that you gotta clean the piss out of your entire CPAP, everything, all the time, and tap water versus distilled. Okay, the reality of it is your CPAP mask, just the parts that touch your face, you're gonna wanna clean those just to get off the oils. It's the oils that are gonna degrade the mask, and it's the oils that make them lose their tackiness, and they don't really stick that well to your face. So you just really wanna get the parts, like I said, that touch your skin. Dawn dish soap works great. That's it. Hot soapy water with Dawn dish soap works phenomenal. I have a spray I sell called Mask Bright. It works really well too. It's more of a product of convenience because it's like a spray. You don't have to like dunk it and stuff. So spray, rinse, makes it easy, but you're just targeting those spots where like nasal pillow, the boogery part, any part with facial oils, and then you're gonna like hot soapy water under the sink for getting your headgear. That's really all you need to do. Drying it is the most important part, and for that I would totally recommend a hurricane dryer. They actually have those on cpapsupplies.com. Discount code works for those, so I can't tell you how many people have ordered that and say, wow, you know what? That is actually a game changer. That's probably the best thing I've added to my whole setup. Okay, now what about tap versus distilled? You know what? I've done videos in the past that say tap is perfectly fine, or filtered tap, distilled, oh, this is better, that's better. Don't even worry about it. It's so unimportant. If you use tap water, you're just gonna get a bunch of calcification in the bottom of your humidifier tank. So what? You can use some vinegar to get that out, or just buy a new tank because they're really not all that expensive. They're like 20 bucks. If you want to use distilled, knock yourself out. If you want to use your own reverse osmosis, whatever, go for it. You're not going to die using one over the other. What is a problem, what you do need to do, this is not a myth, you need to change the water that's been heated up the night before. If you use that again, likelihood of you getting an upper respiratory tract infection is super high. So use whatever water you want. Doesn't matter. Just change it out in the morning, get fresh water for the next night. All right, now the next myth, number 9, blood oxygen monitoring is super important, and so are sleep trackers. What am I talking about? This little guy here. I can't express to you how much I hate this. This is the dumbest shit that's ever been perpetrated on people in the CPAP community. This is bullshit. I cannot express it enough. A lot of people are gonna come to its defense. Phenomenal. Here's my take on it. I've done more in-depth videos on it. But blood oxygen levels, here's what people notice that use it. You know what, Jason? I kept adjusting my PAP device until my blood oxygen levels stopped dipping, but I still feel like crap. Yeah, absolutely. And the reason for that we've already talked about. By increasing your pressure, you're just getting rid of the obvious things such as obstructive apneas, obstructive hypopneas. The respiratory effort related arousals that are like 1 or 2% that are totally missed by this are still happening. So you still feel like crap, which means looking at this is complete crap. This is gonna resolve first, low blood oxygen levels, and your breathing problems are still going to persist. However, if you fixed your breathing problems and all you have in your flow rate data are nice rounded curves on the top of your inspirations, you don't have a need for this because you're not gonna have any blood oxygen desaturations. Now, if you're super sick, maybe you have COPD, and you're, if that's a scenario for you, you have COPD, you have emphysema, you have asthma, you have hypoventilation syndrome. Yeah, maybe at that point, get a blood oxygen monitor. But even then, it's really not that needed. But that's when you actually run the risk of having low oxygenation at night. And then you want to know, do I need to add oxygen supplementally? But having this for the random user at 200 bucks, get the fuck out of here. So not needed. Now, something my wife and I call these things, all this extra stuff people just start putting on, we call them goobers, because her mom used to put up all kinds of stuff around her backyard. It'd be like wind chimes everywhere. Like everywhere they went, she would buy a wind chime, and then like lawn decorations would be literally everywhere. Everywhere. And we were just like, oh God, you got another goober? Goobers? These are goobers? This is a goober. It's adding something that doesn't need to be there simply for looks. It's like the guy that shows up for pickup basketball with like knee pads, elbow pads, those wristbands, a headband, socks pulled up to God knows where. Just all the little extras is a goober. This is a goober. Don't wear goobers. Then we go on to sleep trackers. Now, sleep trackers, some of them are actually not that inaccurate, but like there's really no reason for it. So what do? They go based on movement. So basically an accelerometer, if you're moving a lot, if you're moving a lot and you have a specific heart rate, it infers that you're in stage 2 sleep. Some of these sleep trackers will call it core sleep, which is just stupid. I don't know what core sleep is. I'm guessing it's stage 2. Deep sleep, they're saying, is same heart rate, same respiratory rate, which is going to be, it's heart rate and respiratory rate, they're very much connected. If your breathing is altering, getting fast, getting slow, your heart rate is going to adjust for that because it's trying to keep up with your respiratory rate to pump in more oxygen. So they're very much related. Okay, so if your respiratory rate or your heart rate is more or less the exact same and there's no movement, it's gonna be like stage 3. If there's some movement, it's gonna be like, it must be core sleep or stage 2. And then if it starts getting wonky all over the place, then it's like, oh, this must be REM. That's how they work. There's really no magic to it. They're really stupid. Stage 1 gets mixed up with REM all the time, or even wake gets mixed up with REM all the time. The ones that are really, really good, it's like, you can already see it in the data. You'll notice tidal volume goes bonkers. And when it's not REM, it'll be very, very flat for tidal volume. some easy clues, but you can just look at the respiratory pattern and tell REM just simply by looking at it. There's really not much mystery there. Okay, and the final myth that I just want to talk about right now, people think I hate EPR. I don't hate EPR. I hate EPR being added wantonly with no thought whatsoever to people new to CPAP. So if someone just starts CPAP, they're on a pressure of like 7 and they're like, I need EPR 3 because it's always been on. That has a high likelihood of inducing central sleep apnea. Does it do it in everyone? Absolutely not. But for most people, adding EPR, I would say, is beneficial when you start getting that pressure, that static CPAP pressure in the 14, 15, 16, and beyond range. So should you use it lower? I mean, maybe if you need it. I just would not start with it on unless you're using it for some specific reason. What is that specific reason, Jason? It could just be intolerance to exhalation, which that's a whole nother myth right there. And then along with that myth comes the myth of EPR decreases flow limitations. What? This is something that people will point me to on forums all the time. I want to say thank you to those forums. You guys give me so much business, it's insane. The amount of people arguing on forums saying the exact opposite of what the person said right before them, and yet at the same time, both of them make absolutely no sense, it's amazing. It's actually amazing. But I want to say thank you to all the forums for sending me all these customers, because you guys are so confusing and make no sense. Anyway, does EPR decrease flow limitations? No, it actually makes no sense. If you're having flat tops on a pressure, let's say 8, and the tops of the waves are flat, how would decreasing the EPAP when you're exhaling result in a higher volume of air being breathed in? The function of EPR is to make the inhalation and exhalation very slow and smooth and comfortable. Now, bilevel can help with that if you do the same thing with bilevel, but EPR ain't bilevel. So yeah, that's false. All right, guys, hopefully you got something out of this video. Let me know if you did in the comment section down below. I'd appreciate it. I want to say thank you for all the Patreon members, YouTube supporters. If you want to have a one-on-one PAP therapy analysis with me, check out my website, axgsleepdiagnostics.com. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
And time for an extra thick thanks, buddy, to my top-level supporters, Doug Toombs, Jason Georgiades, Patricia Espelong, Stuart Hetherington, Alan Liu, Edward Steiner, and I'd like to say thank you also to these people, as well as those other people. Up the ante, you get a shout-out. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Barely even on screen, but still appreciate the support.